Hey everybody, this is Captain Frugal reporting for duty, giving you my weekly comic book review. So sit back and enjoy.
News about comic books, musical instruments, tech reviews, and video games with your host, Captain Frugal.
Welcome back, comic book fans, and welcome back to the channel. Every week, a flood of comics hits the shelves, and it can be tough to decide what to pick up. But don't worry, that's what I'm here for. We're about to dive in to this week's releases to crown one book the comic of the week. Will it be an epic superhero showdown, a mind-bending indie darling, or maybe a hilarious new series that everyone has been talking about? I've read a stack of them, and I've got some strong opinions. So stick around to the very end to see which comic earned the top spot and why you absolutely need to add it to your collection. Feel free to drop your own picks in the comments below. I'd love to see what you're reading. So let's get into it. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more comic book reviews every week. Welcome back, everybody, to the weekly comic book review where we walk into the virtual comic shop and have some fun. We're going to jump right in today with the Amazing Spider-Man issue 31. I think this is a pretty controversial storyline written by Joe Kelly, and the artist is Patrick Gleason. The cover it's okay. There's some open order covers that are better, particularly the Black Cat ones. The Black Cat one, I'm sorry. That one's pretty darn good. I gave the League of Comics Geeks gave the 476 ratings, 3.6 score. I gave it a little less with the 3.5. Spider-Man used to be getting around in ratings around 800, 900 about a year ago to over 1,000 plus. Since the last few storylines and creative teams, it's dropped by about half. I just don't think a lot of people are reading this. And this issue, well, things just won't be the same with what they've done with this storyline. And here's the part that triggers some people. Decades ago, Aunt May was told by doctors in a rather dismissive way that she couldn't have children safely anymore. And this issue reveals there was a massive hospital mix-up, or a theft, if you will, because she actually did give birth, meaning that Peter has a biological cousin and has had this cousin this whole time. Well, some fans online are skeptical about the true motives of this new character. Maybe it's a clone. We've seen all those kind of things before. Maybe it's a serial killer. Who knows, right? I can see that. It's a major twist up to the background history of Spider-Man. I don't know if I like this retcon of history either myself. I'm going to let it play out. But Marvel's had a history of when they dive into the past to make changes. Well, let's be honest. They usually don't work out very well, do they? But let's take a couple looks at some people's thoughts here. This one person gave it a 3.5 stars. I must commend Joe Kelly for his tackling of such a heavy topic like this, especially for such a strong and iconic character as Aunt May. Let's look at this one, 3 stars. I think the story itself was good, but some of the very odd decisions made here. First of all, the villain pit fighting plot was completely unnecessary. Yeah, that whole thing there was just shoved in story, I think, to add a little action. It really didn't add much either. Let's look at this 2-star one. This sucked, and not even because the whole talk. Low-key, best way they could have handled it. That would be traumatic, and I wouldn't be jumping to talk about it. I ain't even mad because of how Vulture looks. Yeah, Vulture looked pretty crappy in this. I saw a lot of people were, and I'm just like, dude, he's 90. Right? I guess that's good. Yeah, I guess people are just, it's a really mixed bag with this. So I want to know, what are your thoughts? Did you like this, or did you not like this story change here? Next, let's jump into Wonder Man issue number 4. Only 94 ratings, but it did get a 3.9 score. I gave the book a little less with the 3.7. Wonder Man's not a character that drives up big sales. He's never had really too much on his own. He did have his own short run. And this is another attempt, and I hope it does well. I think this is a character that's worth exploring that people tend to overlook, even though the writer seems to overlook some of the powers and things he can do a little bit in this issue, in my opinion. The writer is Jerry Duggan, and artist is Laura Braga, which I think Laura does a good job with the artwork in this issue. you know, this is sort of a love issue here, because they caught the spot, if you will. And we got the story evolving in the Hollywood situation of craziness, which makes sense for Hollywood being crazy. And then we get the Hellcat and Wonder Man get down to business. Yeah, they get down to business all right in the clouds, which causes them to lose their clothing. You know, it's a good cover, I think, for this one. Good art, and it's just a silly, fun issue. You get some Hellcat, you get some Blue Bolt, which I find is a nice way to tie it in. You get a little Grim Reaper and things like that. You get some we'll get some characters that don't get seen as much, and we get Wonder Man back in his more traditional costume, more recent anyway, without the green. I like that better. But let's look at what some other people are saying. This has been fun. My only complaint is that the main villain is a Hollywood weasel. I'd rather see Simon take on a heavyweight to show what he is made to be as tough as any other of the original Avengers. Yeah, this person gave it a 3-star, and that's one of the key things I like to mention here. They really don't show the power and durability of Wonder Man in this series. I mean, if you understand Wonder Man lore, there is no measure yet to know his strength levels. He can go against the Hulk and everything else. So a lot of people just don't know this character as well because, well, he hasn't been in the forefront enough. Another 3-star says Patsy and Simon's dynamic was the most charming it's been so far this time around. A little bit of detective work towards the end was fun as well. Glad this issue had a bit more forward momentum than the last. Yeah, it did move the story forward. Definitely much better. I was looking at a 4-star. This was a pretty solid issue. I'm not quite sure where the finale is building towards, but I've had fun with this series so far in its charming aspects. And that's just how I see it. This book just is charming. It's nothing special in any way whatsoever. And as I said, we don't have any heavyweights that Simon's going off on and beating up on, because I don't like this whole passive Simon thing very much either. I want to see him what he is, the power level he is, trying to get, continue with acting even though his career is faltering there. It's just a fun character. It doesn't get a lot of attention. That's fun to explore. If you wanted something a little different, I would try Wonder Man. If it's not your thing, I get it too. The next book I want to talk about is The Punisher #5. Yeah. 371 ratings, 4.1 score on Live Comics Geeks, and I gave it close. I gave it a 4. Yeah, so that, once again, that's great for me. Benjamin Percy is the writer, penciler Sergio Fernandez de Valia. And, well, we have some brutal fighting in this one, right? We have Jigsaw versus Punisher, tearing it up. Man, Jigsaw is slicing Punisher to pieces, but Punisher does not go down easy. We know that, right? So face front, true believers, you've got a pulse-pounding, brutal Punisher issue here on your hands. Decent art, good action, decent story, too. I overall think this is a very solid Punisher issue, solid Punisher series. And, of course, we got some Tombstone action in here as he's starting to break and cause some trouble as well. Let's look at some other people are saying here. Let's look at this 4-star. An all-combat issue. Frank and Jigsaw have it out. And Ben Percy did a great job of scripting it out to keep you guessing as to how it will end. Throw in Tombstone wanting revenge, and this heats up literally. You know what? That is a great summary of this issue. Bravo on that to Mr. Tumblr there. I was looking at a 2.5 star. This person didn't like that much. If I can define an issue as mid, it is this one. The Punisher #5 had a great build-up. Issue 3 and 4 were good, but the execution of the final arc was underwhelmed. The highly nerfed Jigsaw surprises Frank. Okay, I'll take this one. But delivering such damage without any resistance, it's a bit overrated. Okay, so they weren't a big fan of that. He said, I did notice the change of artist during my reading. That's one thing I did notice too, and sometimes that can take you out of the book. Let's look at another person here's view real quick with a 4.5 star. Took 11 issues to get something that's not 4 stars. Heck yeah, this was a pretty great issue. 11 issues? This is on issue 5, person. I don't see where they got that, but okay. This person 3 stars. This would be a 3.5 or 4 if the third person narration was better. It wasn't as bad as the first issue's narration, but it was okay. But for me, I just can't stand it. The action in this was cool though, but it shouldn't have taken 5 issues to get here. Okay, so there's a few people with different opinions, a lot of different opinions on this one. I tend to like it. I thought it was brutal action. I enjoyed it. I have been enjoying seeing Frank Castle. And if you want some Frank Castle, please support this book. Let Marvel know that their stupid shenanigans of trying to take him away for their own political dumb agendas because, you know, they didn't like certain things. It was a waste of time. Let's have some fun with these books and use them for what they should be, escapism. Now, this next one is a little surprising to me, and that is the Imperial Guardians issue number 4. It has 101 ratings with a 3.9, mostly positive score on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave the book a 3.8. I almost think that these ratings with this book might be selling more than Marvel expected, which is in a way a shame because Marvel's already canceled this thing before it even rolled out the door. Maybe it can do well enough to hook people in and make Marvel go, okay, we screwed up. I don't know. Well, anyway, we get the Nightshape in this issue. It's sort of a dark thing that gets into your mind. It's an interesting concept, not my favorite though, but our heroes go in and it causes mucking up with their powers, especially Cosmic Ghost Rider. We also have a continuous backstory here of Darkhawk wanting Cosmic Ghost Rider to temporarily kill him to uncover more secrets. The goal is just to bring him back, and it looks like he's making some headway into that. So anyway, the writer Dan Abbott's writing some interesting takes with these characters. I'm liking that. And I think the penciler Eduardo Pensica, sorry, butchering your name, I think is doing a good job depicting these characters as well. Decent art, interesting story. I am really enjoying Darkhawk, and I really would like to see more Darkhawk. I was originally reading Darkhawk when he first came out. I did find that his solo series did falter and start to get a little out there, in my opinion, so I did not read the entire run. Maybe I should go back and check that out. But this particular issue focuses more on Captain Marvel, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Darkhawk, and Gamora. There's some other great characters, but the next issue, it looks like we're going to get some more cool characters. We're going to get Sentry. We haven't seen Sentry in a while. Another one, Death's Head. It looks like, I think we're going to get Quasar from, it looks like, Wendell Vaughn Quasar, as a fact, and the U.S. Agent. So I'm really interested in to see, especially because you know this is a Marvel comic. They're going to end up fighting for a little bit first anyway. But you know what? Let's look what some other people say real quick. Here's a 4.5 star. Deeply disappointed that this is ending with next issue, with no view to where the story and other characters will pick up. Yeah, because it was pre-canceled. It's a shame. Here's another 4.5 star. This book definitely feels like the messy cosmic side of Marvel has become after Imperial and how all these plans and they got canceled. Okay, there's some interesting stuff like with Darkhawk, but then there's the weird stuff like Carol randomly being in this team. Well, it's because Marvel is shoehorning Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers into everything because they really want her to be huge. It's just that character is just not taking off. They want her to be big. They love the feminism thing and all that, but on top of that, I get it. You want to build more big characters. It just seemed, and I'm not anti-Carol, by the way. I really liked her first few series that she had. I just think Marvel messed it up. They changed her to what something she isn't, and that's why it's not taking off. 4 star. Seems like this is shaping up to be something good. I mean, you got a cool team who are working on all fingers of working with a liar who definitely is hiding something. Yeah, I agree there. And it looks like there will be some new lore added to the Darkhawk mantle after all. The problem is, I see though, buddy, Mr. Fullman, is that this is it. One more issue, I believe, and it's done. Are we going to see any more? Because they love to throw Darkhawk away and never use him. Just seems like lately to start to use him. I think he'd be a great character because he's not as explored as a lot of characters, and they could build a franchise off of this character if they actually gave Mr. Powell, Darkhawk, some more attention. What are your thoughts on this? I would love to know. Now, this next book sort of disappoints me, and it's Deadly Hands of Kunlun number 5. Only has 67 ratings with a 3.5 score, so it's not selling hotcakes. By all means, not selling like hotcakes. And I gave the book a 3.5 as well. And it's written by Yang, I completely butchered it. Artist Paco Mendia. And well, here's the thing. I think I'm biased, so just gonna put that up front because I'm a Danny Rand fan. So anyway, in this book, we get the big finale of all them fighting and everything. It gets to our new Iron Fist, if you will. You get to see how he gets to Lin Lai, how he's able to use these powers in ways that very advanced Iron Fist have only been able to use it. At least that's what we hear from Danny Rand. So, you know, he's impressed that he can do these things with it. Matter of fact, he manifests an arm with the chi power. So you get Danny Rand, you get Lin Lai, you get Pai, you get a lot of characters in here, and that's great. But it just sort of, let's go back to the status quo. At the end of it, we get Lin Lai gets a chance to choose now. Do you want to be a hero in this, or, you know, do you not want to be? And he chooses to be an Iron Fist and a hero, which in itself seems okay. But to me, I would want him back as swordsman. I don't like when we take characters and change them. Put him back as swordsman. Then you can bring in Pi again and boost her up. But I think the biggest letdown for me is that Danny Rand was so little used in this. They bring him in, and he had the best panels, though. Out of all the characters, he had the most meaningful panels, but they barely use him, and then he's probably going to be thrown aside again. I just don't get it. I want Danny Rand as Iron Fist, but maybe I'm in the minority here. Let's look at somebody else here with a 5-star. So that's the end of the Deadly Hands of Kunlun, and I thought I'd say a few words about it. We'll start with the 5th issue itself to write something specific for the issue, and then I'll move on to the entire series. We'll just look at a little bit there. I think it was clear to everyone that the outcome of this fight would be Lin Lai's victory. Yep, as I said, it was absolutely, obviously telegraphed. But I absolutely love the interaction between Danny and Lai. And that's the thing. Once again, as I said, most panels that are great were Danny Rand, right? And here's another one. We open right where we left off, much like Danny Rand did in Iron Fist, the living weapon. Lin Lai has absorbed all of the chi of the Kunlun to battle. Yeah, for the battle his, you know, the end of villain here. And it's nice to see Danny and Lai fighting alongside each other. I agree there. I think that was great. I also enjoy this issue narrated by Danny. It offers so much deeper perspective for a more seasoned, experienced hero fighter. And that's exactly, I think people like Danny and his take. And of course, well, Danny, you know, goes back afterwards to the underworld, if you will. No real direction for him. And I'm letting my bias get in here again. I just don't like that. Let's look at a 3-star. It was nice, action-packed fight, and the necessary conclusion to the story. Nothing gigantic. Overall, it was nice. Not very friendly with new readers. I agree there. If you are a new reader in Iron Fist, this would have been a mess, right? You have to really know what it is. Here's another one. So, Lai is still the Iron Fist, and his brother is still dumb, while Danny is still dead/ghost. Yeah, in Osiris's service. Yeah, I don't think I like that. You know what? This 2.5-star review sort of hits where I feel. I don't really like that. I think the new character's a good Iron Fist. I think it's an interesting Iron Fist. I just want my Danny. I want my Danny and Luke Cage teamed up, right? But that's me. What are your thoughts on the Deadly Hands of Kunlun, number 5? The last issue I want to talk about today is G.I. Joe, issue number 23. League of Comics Geeks gave it a 4.1 with 202 ratings, and I gave it a 4. So I was pretty close to that. Writers Joshua Williamson, artist as Andrea Medina. And you're going to get Risk. This book features Risk a lot. You get some Mercer, too, which is, once again, an interesting twist, in my opinion, because Mercer's bad in this series. We get Destro, we get a little bit, a tiny bit of Crystal Ball, and we get some Baroness action. Let's be honest, who doesn't like some Baroness action, right? Yeah, and so anyway, we get a fight with Risk. He's been captured, so we're going to get some more insight into this character, Risk, which he's okay. But I think an interesting thing is we get a little bit of a team up between Destro and the Baroness. And that twist here, because Baroness is a G.I. Joe in this series, it's an interesting little twist done. There's decent art and good action in this book overall. So really this one focuses on more of Risk and his origin and his unpredictableness. So I'm not a big fan of Risk, but it was an interesting read. I did like the Baroness part, but let's look at what some other people are saying. We got a 3-star here. It says, I'm not particularly into this Crystal Ball story, not gonna lie. Yeah, he's using mental manipulation and using energon powers and things like that. It feels like we're telling a reheated Mysterio or Sinestro story where the villain's manufactured fear-based illusions force a reveal of the protagonist's backstory rather than it being revealed organically. You know what? I think that is a really good take on that. Absolutely. Here's a 4-star. At first, I didn't care much for this chapter, but it grew on me as I was writing the review. Risk is put through the ringer as Crystal Ball tries to use DIE to learn more about what makes him tick. Why Risk specifically, though? Why? We aren't too sure at this point. but I'm sure it'll be revealed next issue. Well, it is, like the previous person I mentioned, a way to reveal more about this character. Let's look at somebody that really liked this one, though, with a 4-star. Risk is one of the characters that stood out the most since its introduction, so him getting a background like this was really cool. While using one's fears to attack him is very cliche, Williamson diverted it enough to keep things entertaining, as Risk thankfully doesn't get lost in his fears, but keeps fighting through and facing them, adding more depth to the character. And let's end it once a little bit farther with a little bit even higher than 4.5. You know, I wasn't really expecting a super creepy arc fleshing out Risk's backstory. But to be honest, I kind of dig it. I mean, Risk wasn't a character I was super invested in. I mean, I like the guy. He was fun, and I love his fight with Duke, but now I'm actually invested in his character. You know, I think that's a good point, bringing more into him. Maybe people will like this character, building more G.I. Joe heroes up, right? I wasn't a big fan of Risk, but I have to say, I know more about him now. I like him a little more than I did originally, so I think he's got a very good point. So, if you're into G.I. Joe, I recommend checking out G.I. Joe issue number 23. Thank you everybody for watching this. Please share your thoughts and things. There's still a couple more comics I yet need to review. This month is going to be a crazy month for me. Busy with work, my side business and everything else, and it's going on, so I haven't been able to read quite as much, but I do tend to like to keep these to like 5 issues for these long ones and put out the shorts too of them to help other people get to see these things too. If you don't mind, continue to help support this channel. I really appreciate it. I have some great supporters that have been here with me a long time. They use Patreon or subscribe to our Patreon mostly to help financially a little bit to promote this show. I greatly appreciate that. Another way you can do is just put a comment in. People have been doing that. I notice you. Thank you for doing that too. You're trying to help out by spreading it in the metrics there with the algorithm of the good old YouTubes, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you everybody for your time. Have a wonderful day. Until next time, keep it real.